Live from the IRC television studios on the SUNY Oneonta campus, this is Oneonta News Now. I'm Barbara Prempe.
And I'm Joanna Weidenhammer.
Before we start the news, meteorologist Matthew Miles joins us with a look at the Oneonta weather cam.
Thanks, Barbara. Well, we've had a bit of a warm-up the last couple days, actually really warm. I'll let you guys know how long that's going to last after the break.
Thanks, Matthew. Coming up next, we have your campus and local news. Stay tuned to Oneonta News Now.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
In local news, the 14th annual Cauliflower Festival occurred this past Saturday in Margaretville, New York. The festival holds significance for the town as it was once the site of a former cauliflower auction until 1950, when a flood destroyed the site. People traveled as far as 150 miles for the event, with many festival attendees coming from Connecticut. According to Carol O'Brien, the event coordinator and executive director of the Central Catskills Chamber of Commerce, Todd Parascrella, and owner of the Union Grove Distillery, told the Daily Star, quote, "A good deal of promotional strategy is at these festivals. In the summer, we can take advantage of these outdoor festivals," unquote. The day was enjoyed by all who attended.
16 environmental sustainability students from SUNY Oneonta recently returned from a summer international fields course where they did just that. In its fourth year, the fields course, called Water and Environment of Guatemala, brought students to Guatemala for 2 weeks, where they took water samples and analyzed water quality data from Lake Atitlan and the surrounding drainage basin. The course is led by Associate Professor of Geography and Environmental Sciences, Tracy Allen. Based on their observations, interactions with local residents, and data collection, students work to identify sustainable solutions to the area's water resources problems. Students were also able to learn about agriculture while touring a coffee plantation and later in the area's natural wonders, including the Pacaya volcano, which is active. While we were standing there, we saw large pieces of lava being shot from the top of the volcano, said Anna Zudzmama, an environmental science major from Poughkeepsie, New York, and we could hear it rumbling inside the cone. The trip was rewarding and eye-opening, according to Zudzma.
SUNY Oneonta students involved in biology and lake management have received a step ahead as the college has purchased a new electro-fishing boat through the Field Station and Marine Laboratories Improvement Grant from the National Science Foundation. This high-tech piece of equipment has allowed the students to increase their research, allowing them to analyze fish and plankton easier. It will be available for use by students this semester in their classes, giving them full access to collecting fish for measurements and biological samples, according to the SUNY Oneonta webpage.
The city of Cooperstown held its 6th annual Harvest Potluck Supper this past Sunday. MG Harris and the Growing Community Group puts the dinner together every year as a way to hold a seasonal town event, according to the Daily Star. Harris told them, quote, "I always wanted to do something like this because it brings the community together," unquote. Residents of Cooperstown shared their harvests from their gardens and contributed recipes to a community cookbook for all to enjoy.
Thanks, Joanna. We have your local entertainment news when we come back. Stay tuned to Oneonta News Now.
Danse, balance, suis la cadence, ondule bien tes hanches au bal du dimanche. Danse, que la fête commence, dans ma belle robe blanche, je suis ton chou.
You didn't give up on sex? Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org.
And we're back with your local entertainment news update with Danielle Kaufman. What's going on this week on campus, Danielle?
There's a lot going on in Oneonta this week, so let's take a closer look. The men's soccer SUNYAC game will be this Friday, September 29th at 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. The game will be located on the Red Dragons field on the SUNY Oneonta campus. Come out to watch SUNY Geneseo take on the Red Dragons men's soccer team. You do not want to miss this game. Calling all Spider-Man fanatics, you're in luck because the showing of Spider-Man Homecoming will be playing in the Red Dragon Theater this Friday, September 29th. The movie will begin at 6:30 p.m. and will end around 9 p.m. Tickets are free with a SUNY Oneonta ID and $3 for others. You could pick up your tickets 30 minutes prior to the showing of the movie at the information desk in Hunt Union. Come out this Friday to see how the high school student, Peter Parker, manages to maintain his secret superhero identity as Spider-Man. This Wednesday, September 27th, the Big O Poetry Slam will be hosting its second slam of the semester in the Hunt Union Waterfront Room at 8 p.m. Featured poet Susie Q. Smith will be kicking off the night, followed by 10 SUNY Oneonta poets. Lead credit is offered for attendance at the event. Come on out to support our student poets. The Oneonta women's field hockey team will be squaring up against Cuca this Saturday, September 30th at 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. on the Red Dragon field on the SUNY Oneonta campus. Come out to show your support for our Red Dragon athletes. That's all for your ONN entertainment news for this week. Back to you.
Thanks, Danielle. We have more news coming up, so stay tuned to ONN.
My dad's one of the producers. He's there today.
Bring this one.
NFL players, coaches, and owners across the league now locked arms and even refused to leave locker rooms in solidarity during the national anthem on Sunday in protest of President Donald Trump's recent comments and tweets. Mr. Trump released a series of tweets over the weekend criticizing NFL players who had recently silently protested by kneeling during the national anthem, calling for their firing and suspension. The president also said in a political rally in Alabama that protests are, quote, hurting the game, unquote. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell responded to Mr. Trump on Saturday saying, quote, the NFL and our players are at our best when we help create a sense of unity in our country and in our culture, unquote. Several NFL owners released their own statements throughout the day, many criticizing Trump's remarks. Following the remarks and responses, #TakeTheKnee began trending on Twitter, drawing responses from both people opposed and supportive of players protesting by kneeling.
A man reportedly wearing a clown mask opened fire at a Tennessee church, leaving one woman dead and multiple people, including the gunman, wounded on Sunday. The 25-year-old masked suspect, Emmanuel Kidega Sampson, entered the Burnett Chapel Church of Christ in Antioch, Tennessee, outside of Nashville, and opened fire after 11 a.m., wounding 6 people. Nashville police said a church member said that the shooter had entered the church wearing a clown mask before gunfire erupted. Sampson of Murfreesboro had arrived at the church's parking lot where he fatally shot a woman as she was walking to her car. Metropolitan Nashville Police spokesman Don Aaron said at a press conference Sunday the alleged shooter, wearing a half mask, then went inside the church through the back and opened fire as services were ending. The suspect pistol whipped an usher who confronted him before turning the gun on himself, police said. The usher, who a witness described as a hero, then picked up his gun from his car and guarded the suspect until police arrived at the church, police said. Joey Spann, the church's minister, and his wife, Peggy, were injured in the shooting, the Nashville Christian School said.
California Attorney General Xavier Becerra announced Wednesday that the state will sue the Trump administration over the construction of a wall on the United States-Mexico border. The lawsuit charged that the Trump administration, quote, violated the U.S. Constitution, failed to comply with federal and state environmental laws, and relied on a federal statute that does not authorize the proposed projects, unquote. This is only the latest of over 24 lawsuits filed by Becerra against the administration. He previously sued over Trump's plan to end the Obama administration program DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals Act. Becerra's latest lawsuit is supported by the San Diego City Council, whose councilman, David Alvarez, has said that San Diego has already been negatively affected by the existing fences on the border, and all future walls will have a negative impact on the environment and quality of life of San Diegans.
Education Secretary Betsy DeVos rescinded the Obama administration's Title IX letter on campus sexual assault on Friday, sparking both outrage and relief. The Title IX sexual assault letter stated that, quote, if a school knows or reasonably should know about student-on-student harassment that creates a hostile environment, Title IX requires the school to take immediate action to eliminate the harassment, prevent its recurrence, and address its effects, unquote. Along with the rescindment, DeVos issued an interim guidance for schools on, quote, how to investigate and adjudicate allegations of campus sexual misconduct under federal law, unquote. She claimed that the interim guidance would help schools as they work to combat sexual misconduct and treat all students fairly. Her decision drew strong support from civil liberties organizations and was condemned as, quote, shameful, unquote, by those who accused DeVos of not taking campus sexual assault seriously.
Thanks, Joanna. When we come back, Matthew Miles will take a look at your 5-day weather forecast. Stay with us.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to Oneonta News Now. Let's find out what the weather has in store for us this week with our meteorologist, Matthew Miles.
Thanks, Joanna. So the last couple of days we've had a bit of a warmer temperature in the 80s, which is not like these normal in this time period in September where it's more around the 70s, 60s. So today we're looking at about 86 degrees as our high temperature, which is a very warm summer-like feel with a wind speed of about 3 miles per hour. So you're really feeling the heat these last couple days with that high pressure system that's been over most of the East Coast and even across the United States, where out west we're seeing some of the colder temperatures start to push down. And tonight we have about a 20% chance of precip later this afternoon, just from the humidity causing the water vapor to sort of stir up in the atmosphere. As for tonight, we have a bit of a warmer night, 61 degrees as a low, so not a very good sleeping night. Definitely don't put too many blankets on or anything like that, but mostly clear skies, and we have a wind speed of about 5 miles per hour. As for tomorrow, we're looking about the same, 84 degrees, very sunny day throughout the day, and a little bit more of a wind speed at 6 miles per hour. You'll get a nice little breeze at times, especially in the valley here, but don't expect anything that you're going to feel nice and cool about. And it's across the board throughout all of New York State. Albany is going to be close to 90 degrees, which is very unlike this time period. 85 up in Saranac, 83 in Watertown, 88 in Syracuse. Out in Buffalo, we're seeing 80, so we're seeing this cooler line of temperatures in the western part of the, New York State. Tomorrow for Oneonta, 84. Binghamton for 86, and then down in New York City at 82. And as for tomorrow night, we'll start to see a bit of a cool down with 55 degrees as your low. With a chance of showers, it's spotty, 30% chance, just scattered, nothing significant to worry about, to throw your umbrella and be like there's a monsoon coming. There's not. Wind speed at about 5 to 9 miles per hour from the southwest. And we look at our 5-day outlook, and it looks nice and sunny throughout the whole entire week. We got Wednesday at 84. Then Thursday is when we start to see the cool down fall-like temperatures of 65, 63, 59, and then back up to 64 on Sunday. And Friday night into Saturday morning, you may see some scattered showers at times. But if you look, Saturday night, if you're going out, you may want to bundle up. 38 degrees as a low. So definitely we're going to start seeing those cool off temperatures, and that'll be more of the trend for the remainder of the semester. But that's all I got for you guys for this week. Back to you.
2 more 6.1 magnitude earthquakes shook southern Mexico this past Saturday, causing desperation and disbelief among the people of Mexico City. This quake comes as a scare after 2 previous earthquakes since September 8th, killing dozens of people and destroying new and old buildings. According to Mexico Federal Police, highways and bridges have damage as a result of the quake. The devastation creates an increased alarm in the country after several survivors fight to move on from this disaster. Many have been trapped in buildings and homes. Too many. The government fails to make effort to help those who are left out in the streets. Rescuers continue to recover any debris and signs of survivors as time runs out.
Days after Hurricane Maria pounded the island of Puerto Rico, authorities are starting to see firsthand the scope of devastation that left the U.S. territory off the grid. Without power and communication in much of the island, millions of people, including city leaders and first responders, have been cut off from the world since Maria hit Wednesday. Authorities flew over the island Saturday and were stunned by what they saw. No cell phones, water, or power. Roads completely washed away and others blocked by debris, isolating residents. It was devastating to see all that kind of debris in all areas, in all towns of the island. Jennifer Gonzalez, the island's non-voting representative in Congress, told news reporters. We never expected to have a lot of debris in so many areas. A lot of roads are closed, older ones are just gone, she added. At least 10 people have been confirmed killed by the storm, according to Governor Ricardo Rossello's office. Rossello met with more than 50 mayors and representatives from across Puerto Rico on Saturday. Some described the conditions in their communities as apocalyptic and said there have been incidents of looting in both homes and stores. We know a little more today than we did yesterday. This is going to be a long road, said Rossello.
The Atlantic Ocean has recently been the main focus of the media's attention with its 2, soon to be 3, devastating tropical storms in less than a 2-month span. However, tropical storms are no strangers to the eastern hemisphere as well. Typhoon Doskuri ripped through central Vietnam on Friday the 16th, killing at least 4 people. The region of this typhoon is extremely prone to storms that kill hundreds each year. The scurry ripped through villages and towns with wind speeds of up to 84 miles per hour and gusts up to 150 miles per hour. The storm destroyed over 110,000 homes throughout the country. Many places are still experiencing widespread blackouts as well as extreme flooding. It is believed that almost 80,000 villagers living in the high-risk areas are currently being evacuated, with another 210,000 already in safe locations before the storm hit. Although flash flooding and landslides are still possible, the typhoon is weakening and dissipating into northern lands.
Thanks, Barbara. Stay tuned to ONN for your weekly sports update with Austin Teitelbaum.
Danse, balance, suis la cadence, ondule bien tes hanches, au bal du dimanche. Danse, que la fête commence, dans ma belle robe blanche, je suis ton chou.
You didn't give up on sex? Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org.
Welcome back to Oneonta News Now. Austin, what's going on in sports this week?
It was an interesting week in sports today, but there's a lot to talk about when it comes to sports, so let's get right to it. Steelers remain in the locker room for national anthem before Bears game in Chicago as part of a wave of protests throughout the NFL in the wake of President Donald Trump's NFL-related comments. Most of the Steelers were not on the field for the playing of the national anthem before their game against the Bears on Sunday. The lone Steeler on the field for the national anthem was offensive tackle Alejandro Villanueva, a veteran who served 3 tours of duty in Afghanistan. For the game, Steelers coach Mike Tomlin told CBS his team would remain in the locker room for the playing of the Star-Spangled Banner. These are very dismissive times for our country, Tomlin said. For us as a football team, it's all about remaining solid. We are not going to be divided by anything said by anyone. The Bears would go on to beating the Steelers 23-17. The Yankees clinch a wild card playoff berth with a 5-1 victory over the Toronto Blue Jays at the Rogers Center on Saturday. The Yankees reached 86 wins for the season and clinched an American League wild card spot with a week to go. Brett Gardner, the longest-serving current Yankee, made sure to tell a few of them that the party should not be the final one in 2017. A playoff berth is nice, but these are the Yankees, and their real goal is to win 28 World Series, Brett said. Quote, we realize we've still got a lot of work to do, but I think it's also important for us to celebrate and realize it's a big accomplishment to make it back to the playoffs. There's only 10 teams that get to play into this postseason, and we're one of them, unquote. The Yankees remain alive in the race for the American League East title, but they trail the Boston Red Sox by 4 games with 8 to play. If the standings stay as they are, the Yankees will host the Minnesota Twins, whom they swept in 3-game series last week at Yankee Stadium in a 1-game playoff. Hopefully they can do what Brett wants and bring home the championship to New York. In Red Dragon news, women's tennis pulls off a weekend double on Long Island to remain undefeated. The SUNY Oneonta women's tennis team, fresh off its 5-4 defeat of SUNY Geneseo, headed back on the road to Long Island to face Skyline Conference foes St. Joseph's College and SUNY Farmingdale this weekend. There was no victory hangover, and before the day was over on Sunday, the SUNY Oneonta women's left Long Island not having dropped an individual match and defeated both squads with identical 9-0 shutouts. The match of the day came from Felice, who played up 3 positions from her normal 5 spot to number 2 singles flight. Felice dropped the first set 6-1, just trying to deal with the heat and nerves at the highest position she ever played in. Felice then settled in and out and found herself in a battle, owning a 5-2 lead in the second set, and then just 4 games later, quickly found herself down 6-5. She forced the set into 7-point tiebreaker and won that 8-6. Now on to the super tiebreaker to determine the second flight. Falling down 3-1 and 4-2, Felice battled through the heat, fatigue, and played mentally tough tennis and ultimately earned a match point at 9-4. She lost the next 3 points and finally converted match point to gain a 10-7 victory in the super tiebreaker. She bent over in exhaustion as her teammates mobbed her after a victory. Felice triumph clinched the weekend double shutout of St. Joseph's and Farmingdale. The Red Dragons return home and take on its rival SUNY Cortland in a very important conference match on Tuesday, December 26th, at the beginning, 3:30 p.m. at the Henderson Tennis Courts on the campus of SUNY Oneonta. The SUNY Oneonta men's soccer team bounced back nicely today to defeat the host Oswego Lakers 3-1. 3 different players scored for the number 7 Red Dragons, who moved 5-1-1 overall and 1-1 in the SUNYAC. The loss for them, the Lakers dropped them to 6-2-1 overall and 1-1 in conference play. Head coach Ian Byrne said, "The second game of a doubleheader weekend, particularly in this heat, is always a physical struggle. Fortunately, we managed to see out the last 45 minutes and end the weekend on a positive," unquote. Statistically, Oneonta held a decided advantage in the shots, 21-11, and corners 6-3 of the 21 shots. 5 were on the cage, 3 of which found the back of the goal. All the goals in today's match were scored in the opening 45 minutes by freshman Roberto Ventura. Continued his early season scoring today, notching his 6th season in the second minute to give Oneonta the early 3-1 lead. Ventura has now scored in each of his first 6 games in a Red Dragon uniform. Senior Corey Santangelo pushed Oneonta's lead to 2-1 in the 21st minute, scoring his 2nd goal of the season. Santangelo's shot came from the outside the box that deflected off the goalie's chest and into the goal. The Red Dragons added another goal in the 41st minute to grab a 3-1 lead heading into the break. Oneonta returns home next weekend for a pair of SUNYAC matches. Friday, the Red Dragons will host SUNY Geneseo and 3 p.m., while on Saturday they will host Brockport beginning at 1 p.m. And that's it for all your weekly sports update on Oneonta News Now.
Thanks, Austin. Join us again next time for your up-to-date news, sports, weather, and more. I'm Joanna Weidenhammer.
And I'm Barbara Prempe. This is Oneonta News Now. Have a good night.